You're welcome. Nice to be here, guys. I hope everyone's having a good day. So today, if any of you have caught any of the seminars, webinars, presentations we do, we at Parachute feel really strongly that it needs to be practical and useful and something you can do yourself rather than just showing you something that you need years of expertise to know how to use. So Hotjar is one of these things that you may or may not have heard of, or you may or may not be using, but it can be really powerful for things that you just can't see in other places. So Patricia and I just thought that it would be really useful for people today. So, and the reason we chose to talk about Hotjar is obviously we're a digital fundraising or a digital campaigning agency, and we spend a lot of time working on campaigns that are trying to raise money for organisations, trying to change hearts and minds, trying to build movements. And we spend a lot of time looking at the data, but a lot of organisations focus on the creative and the call to action and the concepts and the designs and things like that. But what we know is that for a digital campaign, success is generally determined by the conversion. So whether it's a lead or a sign up to register for a peer-to-peer event, whether it's a donation, whether it's a download, whether it's a video that's being watched or shared, those are conversions. And so to know how they're performing, you need to be looking at your website analytics. And Hotjar just will add another tool to your tool belt. So Hotjar is what we're going to talk about. This is their logo. I like it better than their new one. And most organisations use Google Analytics. Like in the corporate space, there's a lot of other paid website analytics tools, but in our sector, we use Google Analytics, and we're not suggesting that you stop using Google Analytics. We're suggesting that Hotjar can maybe plug a gap or give you some more information when Google Analytics doesn't. Because Google Analytics is really about conversions and about what people are doing on your website, but it doesn't tell you why, or you can't see what's happening. And Hotjar really helps gives you a better visual understanding and kind of gives you the big picture. But Patricia is our head producer, and she's the one that actually creates pages and runs campaigns. So I'm going to let her tell you about it.
So Hotjar is not meant to be a Google Analytics replacement. Use data for GA, and then we use Hotjar to understand the why and get more insights to what is happening. So Google Analytics is what, and Hotjar is the why, to understand the behavior. We have the campaigns, and sometimes the results not working, and we have a look at the ads and do optimizations, look at the audiences, but then the conversion rate is not working, and we use Google Analytics to understand the drop-off rates and the time on the page. But when we don't understand just the numbers, Hotjar can help us to watch the navigation and understand what is happening really.
Thank you. So Hotjar has 4 kind of key features. Some are surveys, some are kind of feedback, which work really well for kind of subscription organisations or businesses and product and e-commerce businesses. But the things that we use the most in fundraising and campaigning and marketing is the heat maps and the video sessions or the viewer sessions. So we're just going to talk about these 2 today. So Hotjar has 2 types of heat maps, and with the free version, you get unlimited heat maps. So if you're building a new page, if you're building a landing page, if you're designing a new website, if you're thinking about the hierarchy of information on your website, the heat maps give you a really good idea of where they spend their time, what they're scrolling on and what they're clicking on. And in Google Analytics, we can see as they click we can see how many pages people visit and what order they visit them in sometimes, but you don't know which button on the page they click to get there, because quite often there'll be 5 different buttons that you can click to get to the next step. So the one on the left shows you like the scroll thing. So red is hot. So this is where people spend the most time. And as you move down the page, this is where people spend the less time. So obviously above the fold is something everyone understands gets more traffic than other areas. But if you're thinking about your donation page, if you've got your dollar handles right down here, then perhaps you need to move them up because they're not getting enough views. Or if you've got the really emotive image down here, perhaps you should move it up to where it's going to get more face time. And on the right-hand side, we've got the heat map that you can see based on clicks. So this is for UNHCR's 2 billion kilometres to safety, the peer-to-peer challenge that just ran in November. Yeah, October. So you can see these little blue dots that are showing around the page, and that's where people are clicking. So you can see that the donate button has a lot of clicks and the login, which is excellent. But, you know, sometimes you want to know which of the stories are people resonating with, or where are they clicking on this join the challenge button or this join the challenge button. So the heat maps are really useful to help you understand what people are responding to best and what they're engaging with. The other thing that Hotjar that we use a lot is the screen session recordings. So this actually allows you to record a user as they go through, and you can see all these little asterisks are any numbers, so that it's all anonymized. There's no personal information, but we can watch how people engage with your page. And sometimes we know that they're dropping off at step 3, but we can't figure out why. And this can really help you. So I'll just show you an example of actually what it would look like to watch one of these recordings. So this is just logged into the Hotjar account, and you'll see a recording. So it shows you someone as they're navigating through and how they scroll up or down, or where they stop and read and pause. Where you can see the red or the yellow buttons is where they click. So you get an idea of how they're engaging. So that red button's a click. So they've clicked on it and now they need to go down and get to the next one. You can see them clicking through the form. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is like down the bottom here, this is a very active example. And you can see that there's lots of engagement, but there are other ones that are much less active. Whoops, I just want to show you. I can't see because I've got the thing on my screen. Oh, I'm sorry. So you can have all of these different things where you can play. It shows you how many actions, how many pages people visited. The relevance is good. So I'm always looking for things that have moderate or high relevance so that you can see how those people are more engaged. But what these recordings are really good is that, like, showing you here, there's a lot of activity, but this person was on this page for 10 minutes, but look at these massive periods of inactivity because people get distracted. They get an email, they flick between screens, somebody maybe calls them. And so there'll be periods of inactivity. But when we're looking in Google Analytics, we would just see, 10 minutes average time spent on the page, but we don't know where they were. So this really helps us kind of understand people's natural behaviour and what they're doing. So when do you use Hotjar? as opposed to Google Analytics? For me, it's mostly when there's a problem. And when we do digital fundraising marketing all the time. And so we know the levers that we can pull to optimize something, to make a change that will generally improve the problem that we're having. But sometimes you run through all of those things and you can't figure it out, or it's not improving. And that's where Hotjar comes in. So we're going to show you a couple of examples where we were having problems where the conversion rate, like actually capturing the lead, was a problem, and we couldn't figure out, like, our normal process of fixes didn't work. So we'll show you how Hotjar helped in those situations. But, you know, we use it when we're testing. We use it just when you're curious, if it's something new and you just want to see how people are engaging with it. It allows you to really observe visitors in action, just like with if you run tele-fundraising campaigns, you would listen to the calls and audit them and know how they're going. This is about seeing how people are engaging and are they reacting the way you expect them to. But really it's to understand why people behave a certain way or why the data is showing a certain thing, which Google Analytics only tells you what they're doing, not why. Patricia, are there any other things like that you use Hotjar for?
When we launch new websites or new landing pages, of course we test, but Hotjar just give us opportunities to get more examples and make sure everything is in place. So for launches, it's very good too.
Excellent, thank you. So here is our first case study. Patricia will take you through it.
So this is one of our projects. It was a lead gen. It was a quiz. We had an interactive story about a puppy that was on training to become a seeing eye dog. We saw in Google Analytics that we had a good engagement in the quiz, but the lead form had a poor conversion rate. Then we tested and we changed to one page, a single page, this big screenshot, and the conversion rate improved, but not enough. So we did a bunch of testings. We changed and tried different headings, changed call to actions. We made mobile mandatory and not, but then what else we can do? We used Hotjar, and when we watched the recordings, we realized what was happening. So instead of filling the form and adding the information there, a lot of people were adding their emails in the footer in the newsletter email. So we just changed to the sign my name. We put the call to action to the form there, and we added an anchor to the form. So this action helped to improve the conversion rate and understand what was going on.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have seen that. And the reason we didn't understand this is because we weren't capturing this lead. This was a global footer that was managed by Vision Australia, that sat with a different team. So when people signed up to this newsletter, it wasn't tracking as a conversion for us. So all we could see is people dropping off, and we weren't getting this information. It went through a completely different process to a completely different part of the business. The second one is going back using the UNHCR example again for the peer-to-peer event. So we had a similar problem where we had a low conversion rate, and what was confusing us the most was that we were using these, we'd run the campaign for UNHCR in 2020. We were using the same website, and last year the conversion rate was about 4%. And we changed a few images and we changed the creative that was pushing to it. And the Facebook creative was doing really well. Like the click-through rate was excellent. Like outstripping last year, that they just weren't converting, and we couldn't figure out why when it was the same site. But we triple checked our tracking was correct. We were troubleshooting with Razely if there was a bug or if something was breaking down somewhere. We changed images and calls to action and landing pages, like we moved stuff around, but it's still just, the conversion rate still stayed stubbornly under 1%, which is just horrific for a peer-to-peer event. So we had a big team brainstorm. We talked about all the ideas that we could do, and we're like, let's put Hotjar on it and see what's going on. And what we learned, like in Google Analytics, we could tell that step 3, so step 1 was the how many kilometres do you want to do? Step 2 was the give us your personal details. Step 3 was upload your photo, fill in the profile, set your fundraising goal. And people were falling off here, which is not unusual. Just like in a payment process, they'll fall off at the payment details. But we didn't know what was wrong with this form because we'd used it last year. It was really simple. People were getting to this page. So we're like, why are they not completing? But when we looked at the views, watched people go through it, we suddenly kind of saw it in a new light. Like we were just looking at the forms, looking at the steps, couldn't understand. And we saw people like where the click maps were, and people were clicking on this, but not on this. And then we realized that this button says complete registration. So all these people that we've been sending through from Facebook and emails and stuff had got here, had hit complete registration. They thought they'd signed up. They got to the next page. And for whatever reason, they're like, oh, I don't have the information right now, or I don't know what photo I want to use, or whatever. We saw some people, you know, were inactive for periods over 10 minutes, but people were dropping off here. And it suddenly became clear that they thought they had already signed up. So the problem is Razely does not collect any details until you get right to the end. So what we realized we had to do was change this button to say continue, so that they would know that they weren't finished and that they needed to go to the next step. And the conversion rate increased to 4.2%, which is what we expected. And all we ended up, after all the changes we'd made, changing the headline, changing the images, changing kind of how they got to this page, it was something as simple as the words on the button. And it was because we were looking so much at the detail, we didn't see the kind of most obvious thing in front of us, which became obvious when you're watching someone engage with it. You just see things in a different view. But again, so why we use analytics all the time, like in digital fundraising, this is what's so incredible about it, is that you can track everything. You can, you know, you really can understand exactly what people are doing. And so we spend a lot of time deep in the detail of Google Analytics, deep in dashboards. We're looking for conversions. We want to know not only how many conversions or how many people did we drive there, but which audiences were converting. Were they, what state were they from? What mobile device were they on? We're looking for meanings. We're trying to diagnose problems. But what it means is that sometimes you just fall down a rabbit hole, and it's just like you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're getting more information, but not necessarily any clearer on what the problem is. And that's where Hotjar really helps you kind of see the forest for the trees, or see the big picture, because you can really get lost in the detail. And so we use Google Analytics for the detail, but sometimes you need the big picture as well. So Patricia's going to take you through how you can use Hotjar.
So there is a snippet that you need to add to your page or a website. We usually use Google Tag Manager, and it's really simple. You just need to take a copy, the snippet, and then create a tag in Google Tag Manager and paste. It's like in 5 minutes, it's ready. And we, as you know, I think everybody's used it to Google Tag Manager now, so it's a really simple process. And then there are a couple simple steps to add the landing page, and then to choose if you want to capture sessions shorter than 30 seconds. We use the free plan, which is we can record up to 35 sessions, and we to capture specific pages or custom events, you need to get a paid plan, but it hasn't been a problem for us because we often use subdomains or single pages. And it's the free plan has records up to 1,000 recordings monthly. So we didn't feel we didn't buy any plan for our cases, but if you use any of other products as well, you have the option. But
you get unlimited heat maps with the free plan too, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
It just means that you've got to wait for people to come in from the homepage, rather than if you want them to go to a specific page that's 3 clicks deep, you would need a paid account for those things.
Yeah, then you just need to add the website, and then plan the test, and then you can wait. Sometimes in 1 day is enough to identify what is going on, or maybe you need some more days to have more recordings. So it's just wait a bit and then log in to learn.
And I think that's what's so cool about Hotjar for us, is that, like, that problem we were having with UNHCR, we literally put Hotjar on, and then because we were driving traffic there from emails, from social media, from paid Facebook ads, we were able to see, like, there was enough things for us to see the next day. So you can get an answer quite quickly. And quite often it's just this, like, oh my gosh, it is really obvious. So make sure that you're planning what it is that you're having a problem with. So you know, if they're coming in on the landing page, that's great, you can get that information. But if they're on your website and you can only go from the homepage, you won't get the answers you need. So make sure you're planning out what you're going to do so that you track the right things. The great thing is that if you realise that you've tracked the wrong page on day one, then you can very quickly correct that and only have to wait one more day to get the data. And the more traffic you're pushing, you can get that answer even quicker within a couple of hours. So it's important just to highlight that Hotjar is a tool that we're using, but there's lots of other tools that are really similar. Mouseflow is one that I've had on my blog since like about 2012, and Crazy Egg was something that we've used in the past for the charity matchmaker and things like that. It's very similar to Hotjar, but you know, there's lots of options, because sometimes and they'll all have a small point of difference, but quite often they do quite similar things, but they are not a replacement for Google Analytics. They're a complement to it. It's kind of the quantitative numbers in Google Analytics and the qualitative big picture insights in Hotjar. But the reason we wanted to talk to you about Hotjar today was because we know, doing digital fundraising and marketing campaigns, that it's all about the conversion, and using something like Hotjar gives you the best chance at success at getting your campaign to work as hard as you want it to. And this is a picture of a balloon, a parachute, because we're here to help guide you safely through the digital landscape. But if you have a problem on your website right now that you can't figure out, that you've been testing and trying different things and it's just not really improving, if you're not using Hotjar, we suggest that you give it a try. And that's it from us. Do you have any questions?
Thank you both. What an amazing tool. I just had a quick look at the pricing. So it looks like it starts, their basic package starts from about $39 a month, but it sounds like you can test a lot without having to take on the paid package, which is great. It looks really good. It would be great if anybody has any questions, but I just wanted to ask you something that popped into my head when you were showing the recordings and the kind of analytics from the recordings, and one of the columns was how many actions that were being taken during the recording. Does more actions equal bad? If someone's taken lots and lots of actions on your page, does that mean that they're not finding what they need to, or is it not the case?
I would say, yeah, like lots of people like to use time spent on site as a good measurement, and it's like, oh, time spent on site's going up, but you're like, quite often, if things are easy to find, time spent should go down. So it depends. If you're a content website, but quite often if you're a task-based website, like time spent on site is not a great measurement. So actions would mean there's lots of clicks, there's lots of engagement, but if they don't actually convert, and that's why that other measurement of low, moderate, and high relevancy, because if they don't actually convert, then, you know, lots of actions is not a good thing. It means that they weren't sold.
Okay, yeah, I did wonder that. We've got a comment here from Catherine saying we've got the free account and it's so interesting watching the interactions on our website. She could spend hours geeking out on it. It would be interesting in the chat if anybody else is using it. If you're having a good experience with it, it'd be good to hear about that. Now questions just come through here from Tien. How do you best set up the recording requirements to figure out what's not working, or does Hotjar just record everything?
Patricia?
Hotjar records everything, but you can filter, you know. So, for example, you can just filter for the interactions, and then it's, of course, you need to interpret, understand what is going on, see what we saw in that example, that in the complete registration, you know, and the other one that we saw people were signing the names instead of the form. So it's good that you can see what's happening.
So you don't have to set it up. It just records. Yeah. It records a whole internet session. So from the minute you arrive on the page or the site to the minute you leave. So you saw that example I showed you, there was 10 minutes, but they weren't actively doing anything for that, but it recorded the whole 10 minutes and you can see when they're active or inactive.
Cool.
You can skip.
You can skip.
Okay, and can I just ask, obviously the way that a website appears to someone on a PC versus mobile is quite different, and their actions may differ as a result. Do you have to do anything different in terms of the Hotjar setup?
No, they just track it.
Okay.
But this is also something that you can filter, and this happened with us in when we saw that we had an image overlapping a form in iPad. So yeah, it helped.
Okay, interesting. Okay, we haven't got any more questions come through, and I know that we've gone over 1 o'clock, so maybe we will wrap up there. That was really great, thank you. And we will send the recording and the slides around to everyone. I have to say I hadn't heard of any of the other tools, so I'll be interested to have a look at those. And Hotjar's only just recently come onto my radar, but they look like really, really helpful tools. And thank you for taking us through a couple of case studies as well. Lots of comments coming through here saying thanks very much and interesting to test. So thanks both of you, Patricia and Chanel, really appreciate you being with us today, and thank you everyone who came along today. Hopefully you can join us next week for Tech Thursday next week. So thank you, enjoy the rest of your day, and we shall see you soon. Take care.
Bye.